excellent. And McEvoy has hammer, so it was even better.
Wow.
Must have covered the pin. And Team Breen here, throwing the yellow stones. Lead Amanda England already through. This is second, Jocelyn Adams with her first. Playing the come around third is Marley Powers and the skip Teresa Breen. Their fifth is Mary Sue Radford, and they're coached by Jeff Wilson. Jeff's not here, so Mary Sue's doing all the coaching duties. And that come around just bumps the blue McEvoy stone back to biting the back 8 foot. Still some room to come around though. Team McEvoy not putting up that corner guard this end, just choosing to play around the center guard that Breen placed.
And I had a moment of confusion when you announced the players there, because I was thinking, hold it now, that's Amanda Simpson out there. But obviously she got married, I think, last summer.
She did.
Yeah.
I think it was in August. Nathan England is probably tuned in right now from work. When he's not at the club playing or watching, he's watching online.
That was a nice little split open down there.
Works well, keeps that 4 foot area open. Still the center guard in play though, so Team Breen looks like they'll try and make a good go for it here.
They've got someone's in the backing, yeah. Nice little catchers back there. It kind of supports the steal a little bit still at this point. So that was just a nose hit, which is certainly eliminates one of those blue rocks, which makes the Breen team happy. A nice little roll would have been good there. And it looks like Julie McEvoy is calling the same shot, looking for the roll to center from this hit.
Nathan's tuned in.
Is he?
He's got a message. Not surprised.
What did he say? Please don't tell everyone I'm watching from work?
No, he just said, you're right. So Carly Jones here for Team McEvoy. I actually think it's nice they're hitting here, just trying to keep a couple blues in the rings. Team Breen will try and force play to that center. When they played the hit on that last one instead of a draw, they're kind of committing to that hit and roll game here, but maybe trying to bring the rocks a little bit above the tee line like you see is the case now.
And it's interesting, I was watching the broadcast last night, and just in case the viewers don't realize, we can't see what the camera is broadcasting. So occasionally what ended up happening during one of the broadcasts last night is the camera was watching the person getting ready to throw, and the people speaking were talking about points in the house. So sometimes you'll see a little difference there, but we tend to sort of follow the rock.
Yeah, if it seems like we're crazy, we're not.
Well, we might
Well,
be.
we are, but
Yeah.
not in this sense.
So both teams are doing really well with the hit so far.
Kelly Bachman now, she has to be careful, doesn't want to jam on her back stone, as we're seeing a lot of these hits hanging a bit straight on that line. They're not necessarily getting that roll to the center. This one looks like it could be close though. Just gets it on the nose though. Wow. Struggle to find that curl in this in-turn path. And their wedding was July 29th.
Oh,
it wasn't in
not
August.
August?
I was
You
so
were so
close.
close.
So close. You got to give me that one.
By the time the pictures hit Facebook, it would have been August.
Yeah. Exactly. Marley might be able to get the double here. They were looking for the roll, but
Ooh, that was nice. Nice
plan
quiet
B.
weight. Quiet weight hit there, just enough to do the job and keep your rock in play.
So a change in sides here for Team McEvoy. It's getting late to open up the front. They have both of these stones accessible. You don't love to hit a stone in the back of the house, but of course that's the shot stone. This is the last of third stones here, so just 2 left per team after this.
Not an awful lot of rocks in play as we look across all of the sheets. Not a lot of guards used yet in these, or in the early end. But we may see more of that in the coming ends with the 5 rock rule in play this year.
Looks like everybody across the sheets decided to stick with those center guards, playing around the center. That's pretty typical for a first end, just to kind of get the jitters out and keep it open, not go too crazy and get forced or give up a steal.
Everybody's a wee bit conservative usually. You don't want to have a big giveaway on the first go.
Yeah, and the further into the tournament it gets, the more likely that is to happen. Just calm the nerves, get settled. So Kelly Bachman's shooter rolled a bit too far, rolled behind the Breen counter there, but leaves that outturn side open for Teresa to just make the come around. So they're looking to sit 2 here. And if they leave a double, it'll be a slash and the shooter will roll out. So pretty safe position to be in for Team Breen. Just needs this one to be out counting the blue at the back. That's the important thing. And buried would be great. I think Jocelyn's saying the weight's a little up. Although this is the side of the sheet that the teams have not played on this end, so
A little hard to tell on the first throw down that side where it's going to
coming
land.
down a bit. Looks like she threw great weight, top 4.
Looks like it might still be exposed though. I'd say they have at least half a rock open.
So perhaps with a soft weight, something like a board, Julie can come down. On this play, the important thing will be to stick your shooter.
And not jam on the blue in the back.
As Julie comes down to get ready to throw, we'll keep you updated because we do have games that are going to have impacts on the playoffs. Team Brothers, Team Jones. Brothers at 3-2, Jones at 5-0.
They're the only team that's undefeated at this point.
They are. As long as they win one of their games today, they're in. And Team Arsenault versus Team Hilliard. Hilliard and Arsenault both at 4-1, so that's going to be a real battle on sheet E as well. Of course, the scores are on nscurl.com. Julie's throwing her rock here. Shelley Barker sweeping to get it by. Does not. Seems to be the story for this Team McEvoy. They've been oh so close on so many shots, and just little ticks like that have been, at least in the games I've watched, for the team.
Unfortunately, those closies don't work out so well in curling, usually.
I think that's been a lot of the case for Team Breen as well, keeping things tight and a few games where things have not gone their way.
So as you said, it will be interesting to see how this is I guess a set of games that can really make a difference about who goes to the finals. Only the top 3 teams make it into the final round. So I think 2 plays 3, and then the winner plays 1 on Sunday. Is that right?
Yeah, top team after round robin goes to the finals. So that's what Team Jones is looking for.
And of course, Arsenault and a few others are looking to not have that situation. So Hilliard as well at 4-1.
Exactly. And Marianne Arsenault, it's a big day for her rink. They're playing Tanya Hilliard right now and plays longtime teammate Colleen Jones this evening.
That is
a big game.
Yep. Well, your top 3 teams are playing off today, so
Yeah, that could be for the #1 spot. And Team Brothers trying to stay in the mix here against Team Jones. So they need the win. So get a little intense here. The second draw is at 7 p.m. We'll have streaming for you on sheets C and D, live scores on B and E.
And Julie McEvoy just getting ready to throw her last here. There looks like sitting 2 yellow right now. So she definitely wants to stick her shooter this time. Sweeper on early, but not panicking.
Just need a nose hit and stick around. Looks pretty good.
Looks good, yeah.
Got to curl up a little bit.
No, there's no coach there.
No coach there.
Just
I think that does the trick.
It sure does. And it was close. Little roll, but it was close. It looked like it was 1 yellow.
A little nervous times, but yellow or blue?
Sorry, blue.
Blue?
Yeah.
I like when Team Breen is blue instead of yellow because their jackets are blue.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
their name starts with a B.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Makes my life easier. But they're not. Team Breen is yellow. So McEvoy with the hit and stick scores the single. They lead 1-0 after 1 end of play. We do have 10 ends to go in these games, so 9 remaining. We'll have a break after the 5th end. 38 minutes of thinking time, so teams will keep an eye on the clock to make sure they're not running long. And this is Shelley Barker. Team McEvoy curls out of the Lakeshore Curling Club. They've got players in a few different locations, so I think that's probably the most convenient for everybody to get to.
So it looks like she's calling for this first rock to go in the area of top 4. Sweeper's encouraging it a bit. It's a nice close shot.
So interesting. It's you see what teams have a tendency to do in this position. Team bring down a single, and that stone just biting the top 8. Probably not in the ideal spot. It's just off the center line, and it's not as deep in the top 8 as you like to see for a first stone. But she's asking Amanda to hit regardless, and so I think what Team Breen will do is hit on this one, and then probably play the corner guard on Amanda's second, trying to keep just the one corner guard in play. What happens with the 5-rock rule, sometimes a team will put up a corner guard. The team without hammer has already gone into the rings. They go in again. You put up a second corner guard, and then the team without hammer puts a third stone on the center line. It gets really hard to score, so we're seeing that delayed corner guard quite often.
Yeah, you have to be very courageous to run into that. With so many rocks in the rings, you've got to be very confident you can move a few at a time.
Exactly, and only down a single point. They're not trying to get 2 or 3, or sorry, 3 or 4. They're just saying, well, we'll try and go for the 2 points. Although Teresa's just hitting this now, she might be able to, I don't know if she'll roll and stay out of the rings. That blue's all the way in, so the shooter will be in the rings. I think we'll see a more open end here with this call.
I think so.
I'd love to see a quarter guard.
Just to mix it up a little, eh?
Yeah, and second end. May as well go a little hard for it.
Nose and a biter, so that's still available to be removed.
And Team McEvoy just happy to play along. They don't have lost rocks, so they're not going to take any chances here. So Carly Jones hits and stays out front. And that's what Teresa was waiting for. She just didn't tell us.
Now she's got a guard to play with. Looking to try to set up and get her 2 for sure in this end. And I see the Breen team seems to use some hand signals here and there. Makes for a nice, effective communication system amongst all the other noise that you get when you're out on the ice surface.
This shot looks great.
Sure does.
Top 4 foot weight, and it is almost totally buried behind that short blue guard. So Julie was looking at perhaps a run, the more defensive shot. If you miss it, you're probably going to give up 2, as long as Team Breen can keep the yellows split in the rings. This call here, little freeze.
And I would think Carly Jones would be used to these kinds of shots as the doubles champion here in Nova Scotia.
Yes. Third year in a row for Carly and her fiancé Bryce Everest. Bryce plays in the Deloitte Tankard with Team Kendall Thompson. And this stone, little rub. Don't know if it's overlapped at all.
Didn't quite curl as much as I think they would have liked.
Perfect weight.
So Teresa looked like she was calling a hack weight, or that would be my guess. She tapped her foot. So just a nice, easy hit on this. Probably looking to go cross nose, I would think.
Yep, over the nose and try and roll the shooter behind the guard as well and sit 2. And we might see a run on that short guard.
Ooh, just papered the guard. That's a pretty good result, I think. Might open up the double there on the yellows.
I think they can stick the shooter on this. Might not be able to remove both yellows.
I don't know, I think nose gets both, looking at the overhead.
Yeah, maybe she can see nose. Looks a little underneath.
It does. It's hard to tell, but yeah.
This looks close. Really nicely done by Kelly Backman. Great call from Julie as well.
And a great example of a quiet weight double. All too often, people think they've got to put 10 tons of weight on to get a couple of rocks moving, but these rocks, with the striking bands fresh, they really react well. Lots of bounce there. I think sometimes with club rocks, some club rocks, you don't get quite as much spring from the hit.
And Marley looking for that roll underneath and gets most of it. Not fully buried. Talking about the run again here.
Be hard to see too much, though, from the hack at the other end, I think. Maybe half a rock.
Yeah, I think Kelly will, if she hits what she can see, even with a soft weight, she's probably going to roll out. But she did just throw this, so that would be a reason for favoring this over the short run.
Sweepers on and off, that's usually a good sign.
Oh, and she'll really be able to stick her
Nice.
shooter. Wow, what a great couple of shots there from Kelly Backman.
Both teams are really playing the hits well so far this game. So after the first end, I see Arsenault has jumped out to a 3-0 lead over Hilliard. I'm sure that's a great start to the game from their perspective. And Jones is up 1-0 over Brothers after the first end. Looks like Matatal blanked.
Big roll over here. Seems to be good movement on that side. Just have to make sure there's enough ice. So Julie will have an open hit, and I think she'll just want to stay here. Doesn't really want to roll behind the guard at this point. I think it's a little far back in the rings. If you want to shut down the scoring area, you'd want that stone to be higher. So hit on the nose, and I don't know that Teresa would try and make the roll either, and then Julie can make it on the roll on her last.
Yeah, you don't want to get over there too close and help her out.
Exactly. If you roll now, you really force Teresa to play around the guard and might force her into the deuce. This one is really starting to curl.
They're really trying to hold this straight, I think, with the one sweeper, and it looks like they did their job. Shooter might go all the way out, though.
Ooh, just out.
Yeah.
They played down that side of the sheet in the first end quite a bit, so I'd have expected that one to take off as much as that. It wasn't a super heavy weight.
It was a bit of a new path, though, I think, for the hit.
It was for the hit,
Yeah.
yeah. A little wider out.
And the ice looks like it's running pretty quickly. I think it was 15 or more the other day. It looks like it's probably in that same range today. So Teresa Breen just lining up here for her first, looking for the draw behind guard if possible.
This is where Jocelyn threw earlier in the end to set up the play around that guard.
Sweepers on and off. I think they like this shot. It looks like it's going to come in nicely.
And that's a 14.5. That's nice draw weight.
Yeah, 14.5 to tee. That's a hog-to-hog measurement, of course.
It doesn't get buried like Jocelyn's did.
This is Julie McEvoy's last rock. She's looking to remove it and hopefully stick around and force Breen into taking a one.
So Julie would like to hit this. Doesn't want to flirt with the guard too much, but would really like to stick to shooter and try and maybe get a miss on the blank attempt. I'm just going to want to make sure this stays high of the center line. And then they can sweep to get it to stick around once they know. That'll do the trick.
Sure does. So I would think that they'll be looking for the roll away here. Blank the end and try to get two in the next, I would guess. And you never know, we may see them take more advantage of guards in the next end and set up a more complicated sort of strategy. Most of the other sheets are delivering at the same pace. All the teams are playing in pretty much the same pace, so we can update you in a few minutes on the other sheets as well. Power's calling for the sweeping, trying to keep this straight so they can get the roll, and that looks great. A blanked end and off to two. Or sorry, three.
Something.
Two in the third end. How's that? 2 points in the third end, hopefully.
We just throw numbers out there, trying to get 3 and the 2 and the 4, 5.
Exactly.
It's early. While we have our between end mini conversations, remind everybody that the Scotties champion will be representing Nova Scotia at Mosaic Place in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, February 15th to 23rd.
That'll be a cold week.
Yeah, and it's a pretty quick turnaround as well. Of course, we're ending toward the end of January here, and so just about 2 weeks before the winner will leave. It's a lot of arranging to do. Get everything set. Gotta get jackets and everything. We also want to thank the volunteers, timers, officials, ice makers, anyone who had a hand in making this championships a success. It's the third year that Dartmouth Curling Club has hosted, and third year that the host chair has been Lynn Burgess. She's done a fantastic job. Thank you, Lynn. And of course, our head ice technician, Tracy Froud. Don't know where the name Jamie came from. I was just talking to Tracy before the game too, and he has a pretty fun time. We were talking about the weather. It's a little warmer today, so more humid. So he's paying attention to the ice, and I know he takes a lot of feedback from the players and actively listens to try and make the best ice conditions possible.
So early off in this end, Team McEvoy put one in the rings, and Breen is elected for the corner guard. That's a nice tight guard. Looks like McEvoy will put another one either in the rings or on top. I didn't see the call.
She's going to tell us.
Out in front, yeah.
Tight.
Up on the Deloitte.
So different setup than last end.
Yeah, and that partially makes the draw around the corner guard. It can make it a little more challenging, at least visually. This looks a little heavy, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to make contact with the blue in the top 8 foot. For Team Breen, a good chance to actually get behind that corner guard by playing ahead, getting some action on those blue stones. Trying to keep this one high side. Looks like it's over curling.
Oh, worked out anyway.
I'd say that's a pretty good result. Gets the double there. So Team McEvoy, they can't really ignore it. They'd love to peel the corner, but they can't do that just yet. That is the 5-rock rule in play. We'll hit the open one in the rings. Waiting for this one to come up. Don't really want to roll that shooter out. Love to keep it in. That's a force.
Ooh. Did that stay around?
Stone,
it did.
And it does.
Yeah, little bite out there.
Didn't want to roll that far. Of course, they're happy to keep it in the rings, but they wanted to stay around that center line area because you see here, Teresa's going to ignore that stone.
And just look to put one behind her own. Jocelyn Adams watches this one go down. The sweepers are working it. It looks like it's curling.
Fancy that.
Ooh.
Nice path for a draw.
Yeah. Wait. They
You
had
need
to
to
sweep
stop.
it to get by. They had to sweep it to get by the guard, so it is a little deeper than they expected. But
Yeah, they would have loved that top 4 foot weight in the 8 foot.
certainly buried, I think. Maybe, yeah. But it's back deep enough that McEvoy may take advantage of.
Julie's talking about hitting it from the other side. I don't love that. You tick the guard and you tick them in, and then you're facing 3.
Good communication, though, with her person in the throwing. How much of this can you see? And a good conversation there before they settled on their shot.
And this is why you don't want your stones to go back in the rings, is because the team without hammer can lay one right down on top. Waiting for this one to curl though.
Starting to do just that now. Sweepers look like they're putting a little more effort into this to get the weight where they want it.
Yes, they are going for weight. The line looks great.
Yeah.
See if Kelly can get the last bit to lock that on. What a great freeze
Wow.
there from Carly.
A couple of inches maybe between the two stones, but not very much.
Yeah, it
Those
essentially
shots are
negates
tough.
the yellow stones. So Team Breen, they're committed to going around this corner guard. Jocelyn will try and make this one a couple feet lighter. Sweepers aren't on this one as much. It's not taking as much curl.
No.
If the weight's there, though, Amanda can sweep it to curl.
Hanging really straight on this turn, going down the center line until just at the last minute. There we go.
And the little bounce. Almost perfect. Needed to be a hair lighter, and it would have settled nicely and not bounced off. I don't know that Kelly can see that enough to hit it with big weight.
Yeah, without bumping into their own blue.
We're just talking about board right now.
So just a wee little tap. That's what they're looking for, I think.
Easy weight, hit, stick the shooter underneath.
It just rolls off the tongue so easily. But when you're the person throwing those ones, they're certainly tough to, very precise shots.
Yeah, it looks so easy.
From up here.
Watch
Nice
that little
shot.
roll. Gets a
Very
bit of a
nice.
flop. And as we see these freezes and hits here on this side, the thrown stones are moving up in the rings. So Kelly's stone that she just delivered is now on the tee line. It's making it harder to get that come around. So we're just seeing back 8 weight here. So the important thing for Team Breen is to get the shooter behind the guard and move that blue stone a little further back behind the tee line.
And this is the first of the mates rocks. So getting a little bit later in the end.
Waiting for the rock to take that movement. It does take as it starts to slow down. It's really moving now.
That looks like a great shot.
Well done there from Marley Powers. And Julie's asking what Kelly can see, but you see that wall of blues in behind. If she can't see better than nose, or better than the whole rock, Kelly's not going to be able to remove that.
It looks better on the overhead for the hit than it does looking down the ice.
Looking down, it
It's
looks
imposing.
terrible.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. She's looking to freeze in here, I think. A little tap maybe.
Yeah, again, this is another cut down the scoring area shot.
And we're moving closer to center, so the broom is getting over there. And it seems to really run straight down center. So it'll be interesting to see if this one curls over as well as the last one did. Looks good. There it goes. Starting to curl.
I want it to come up to nose. Just tap that yellow back a little bit.
It's a good shot.
Kelly was able to get there with pretty good weight. Move that blue back to the back 12. She probably threw almost hack weight on that. A lot of rocks behind that corner guard now. Can Marley see all of the blue stone though? Bounced open a tiny bit.
I think you try the peel on this, eh? or at least the hit and roll.
Yeah, better
attempts.
upweight, and you actually have a catcher in the back there. Kelly didn't want to bounce those stones as far back to the 12-foot as she did. So Marley now has this shot.
And it opens up, if she makes this, opens up a good chance for a multiple here.
Hard for line, though.
Oof, oof.
Just a wick. But enough to redirect, and Marley won't make contact with anything. Or anything in the rings, just the one out front. So here's the chance. This is the chance that Team McEvoy's been looking for all in to try and force. They'll guard their own stone now. Second shot is Breen, so this guard is really important that it actually gets in front of that blue stone.
Always difficult to place a guard late in the end, I find. You know, I don't know why that is. It just, because you really do need the perfect location for this.
We've seen the draws around that corner so many times, but with the small hits, the guard's actually going to end up in a different place, and you have to know with the ice whether with a guard it'll finish up as much or more than the draws. Because the rock doesn't have to travel as far, but it's lighter. Sometimes that means it will curl a lot more, and sometimes it actually means it just won't take that last little bit if it's curling more in the guard zone, but it doesn't travel as far there, it won't curl. So this is more ice than for any of the draws.
It's curling early, so it's probably guard weight.
They just needed to stop curling now. Sweepers
Yeah, so that's
can't help that.
That's over curled there, leaving that blue exposed. I almost think that's where the yellow was before it was pushed over on the last. Yeah.
I think Teresa has a very similar shot here. Maybe with softer weight than Marley played, take a little more ice.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. That's, yeah, hard to place those guards late in the end. It always works out when I'm watching curling. It seems easy to come around the guards compared to
Because you play the come around so much more often. You have a guard and you play a come around and someone hits it and rolls out and you play the come around again, or you're freezing and everyone's adjusting the ice for the draw. But the guards are different.
And late in the end, like an over curl or an under curl of a come around isn't bad. You've got that Christmas tree effect. The next hit rolls it wide. But later in the end, you really need it to be in the right spot.
So Teresa is playing this hit. This is the same path where Marley just over curled and wicked on a guard. But if Teresa can make this, she'll sit two.
Be interesting to see if she plays a little more weight, maybe, or if maybe she's got a little more positive rotation. It won't curl as much.
Marley calls the sweeping early on this one. She's probably a little nervous from her last shot too. Jocelyn gets it by.
Wow.
And rolls the shooter buried.
That's a great shot.
What a shot.
I wonder if they had always assumed it would cross the nose.
As long as they got by the guard.
Yeah, as long as they got by the guard. That's great.
They almost
Very
needed to
precise.
keep sweeping past the guard. They couldn't roll any further than that, or the blue in the back 8-foot would outcount it. So Julie McEvoy was guarding a shot stone on her first over curled, now faces two without hammer here on her last. She's playing a soft weight tap. This is to essentially hold Team Breen to 2 points.
This is a tough shot. Facing the two.
Jelly beans from the little machine downstairs.
So I see over on sheet 2, On sheet E with Marianne Arsenault and Tanya Hilliard. Arsenault took another point, stole in the second end, so it's 4-0 for Arsenault over Hilliard after 2. And Matatal is up 1-0 over McEvoy Driscoll after 2.
So waiting for this curl that we've seen. Trying to chip this sideways. Doesn't want to hit it full.
That's pretty good.
And gets it just enough. Where will the shooter roll? Just a little too far.
Second.
The yellow remains shot stone there. So Teresa can just draw for her deuce here. Doesn't need to worry about a hit. It's guaranteed a single point.
And a good chance to dial in that draw weight for use in the next end. So by this time in the week, the teams have played lots of games. I would think it would be starting to be exhausting at this point.
Yeah, you do get tired. It's a long week. They have 3 days with a single game. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And Wednesday and today are the 2 game days to make up 7 total. And you want to be well rested going into that weekend for playoff teams.
Yep,
but it's hard with all the games. So Teresa Breen, her last shot coming down here, needs 4 foot to secure the deuce. Sweepers were on it, but backing off now. Don't want that one to slide too far. And it will just stop in time. Good for the 2, Teresa Breen. Sweepers didn't want to touch that as it was gliding into the rings, but just holds on. Good for the 2. Breen will lead 2-1 after 3 ends. McEvoy will have hammer here in the 4th.
And most of the other sheets are just turning over to start their third or their 4th end as well.
Yeah, we have not a measure, but a in or out call on sheet D in the Matatal McEvoy Driscoll game, and Matatal ended up stealing a single with a rock that didn't look like it was in. Turns out it was. Or maybe that was for a steal of 2 and it wasn't in. I didn't see.
I don't know. Either way, those little nibbles on the edge can surprise a person from time to time.
And you can't check. You're not allowed mid-end, with the exception of trying to see if a rock is in for the purposes of free guard zone. You can't check if it's in, so you have to use your best judgment.
And hope it's correct, or just assume it's in if it's close.
Yeah, you'll see that a lot. If it's the only stone, teams will often hit it, but sometimes you can't.
Yeah, true enough.
So with the switch of hammer here, Amanda England throwing first, puts hers right on the lid. It's funny, teams are playing defensive on this home end, coming toward the glass and the even ends.
Yeah, it looks like Julie McEvoy has called her first one in. Or, nope, sorry, hit and roll. I saw the broom over on the edge and I thought it was a draw to the corner to start with. She gets a little hit and roll, change up the shot a little bit. And this is very defensive. Now, coming home as you suggested.
Yeah, I usually find teams will put up their corner guard in the home ends, but
I've never noticed that tendency. I've never noticed that. I'll have to keep an eye open for that.
it's an even end thing, I think.
Okay. Want to score desperately on your even end. And that was a hit and roll away. This is setting up for a blank this end, I'm afraid.
Sure is, but we thought that in
I sure did.
the second end, it ended up being a blank, but Teresa was trying to use the guard. It was Jill Brothers against Colleen Jones scoring one in the third to tie that game.
So we're looking for a corner guard right on the E of Deloitte where the broom was sitting. This one didn't curl quite as much as they thought it would, but still a really good corner guard. And Breen doesn't mind. She's going to come around anyway. Take advantage of it.
He's kind of scary though. Watch yourself.
How you doing, Michelle?
Not bad, how are you? Tough week.
Oh, God.
Jeez.
Waiting for this one to curl. It's just not taking it. Jocelyn had a good one in the second.
Just a wee bit
A
heavier.
little heavier.
Yep.
Oh, really? Well, that's good.
You try and throw that sweeper's weight and allow it to curl and let your sweepers take it the last few feet.
Oh, is it?
So Julie now saying, well,
That's right.
we're
They can't
okay
do
with where that one is. So it looked like a blank, but here we go.
Here we go. Game on.
And again, that's the 5-rock rule. Jocelyn couldn't peel that guard, so they didn't have a choice. They'd have to play into the rings. Could have thrown up their own center guard, but we don't see that very often. Be really aggressive, and Breen's up, so they're not going to see that happen. This one looks a little heavy, maybe bumping the yellow. The draw was the call, so the draw of top 4-foot weight. You see Carly bumping that, so just heavy, and that's why I didn't take the curl.
Getting a heck of a lot of curl here. A couple of feet.
No, you see where the broom is. It's just about 2 feet away from the edge of the guard.
Too lazy Tuesday morning, 2 mornings when we go over here. It's way too much work. Try to feed them all breakfast and get them all ready for work. It's like,
You see both teams are just outside the hog line at the far end, cleaning up something in the ice. A little pick of some sort, I think.
Look at this weight, though.
That's lovely.
A nice adjustment there from Jocelyn. Probably not too far off from her first weight, actually.
I think you're probably right.
Get away with it on that one.
Yeah, little bump, a wee bit of a separation there.
So Julie's trying to keep her blue rocks in play, maybe make that back 4-foot one count. The issue with this is the shooter's going to roll.
Looking for quiet weight, though, for sure, on this
Might
one.
leave a double here.
not for that short a time. It's different. If I'll be there for
Yeah, this is just a back house weight tap.
they don't give her the ball like daycare. They give her milk out of the glass, right? Where she comes home, what she ran, they do something.
Sweeper's really just keeping this clean.
Paul's like, no. I asked Jill, I said, how much did Jill still give her ball with daycare? I'm like, oh, really? So,
This one, it looks a little lighter than I was thinking. It's going to tap it, but it's actually going to cross the face. I think that works out okay. Might be a better result.
Looks
Keep
like
that
blue
yellow.
is shot.
give her her milk, and then she loves smoothies. And
It's getting to be a tight scoring area, but you can see that yellow might be squeezed out if there's any weight played down on here. So Teresa needs to put another one in the rings.
Yeah. McEvoy certainly wouldn't mind losing their back blue to squeeze out that yellow if they could. We'll see where this goes, and
This is just a freeze. It's very important to have that weight.
little bounce maybe.
Moves that blue back. Is there a play to get under the guard here and maybe squirt that second yellow? there's a shot here with hit weight to sit 3.
I think there is. I think
Have
there
to
is
get,
because the guard, I think
cross
it's open.
space.
An open hit, almost.
Little low side here. If Kelly can cross the face, this won't be played with a lot of weight. I don't think. Again, this would be maybe max control. Cross the face a hair, roll the shooter behind the guard, clip the back yellow. Big shot here.
And this is a really ice and weight kind of balanced shot. You have to have just the right amount of, right combination of both.
It's on nose right now. Will they get by the guard? Oh, and it wrecks. That was close. So Team Breen now, they're sitting 2. Just straightforward guard call here. That was a big chance for Team McEvoy.
And without last rock sitting 2 and able to throw up a guard is a nice, comfortable position to be in.
They just need to get the last few feet out of this to get it to curl. Did they leave a hole?
It's really, yeah, she's so, she's just that. Yeah, she's really good. Yeah, she's
Julie's gonna have a look.
I think there might be a port, but it would be very precise.
If the port leaves the top yellow right in a spot where you'd make contact to make the shot,
Yes.
then it kind of is fine.
Yeah, it looks like a fairly lightweight hit based on the amount of ice.
Yeah.
But still, it might be enough to squirt it back and, as
Yeah,
you
I
said
think
before,
Kelly
set
has
the
to
three.
curl around the guard a little bit. So here it comes. Need to curl past that guard. It's going to be close. Gets the yellow. Won't make contact with the back one, but those are 3 blue rocks in the rings in good position. But that center guard will still complicate things. He needed a bit more curl just to make contact with the second yellow stone.
Thinking a yellow rock here in just the right spot, though, it's going to make it tough to score for McEvoy. And I see in the third end, Marianne Arsenault's rink stole a game. The score is now 5-0 for Arsenault over Hilliard. Based on what we saw the other day, once they get a lead, they have some pretty precise hitting capability.
They do. I also saw Team Hilliard come back after being down 4-0 last night and winning against Breen. So
You don't want to count your chickens before they've hatched.
yeah, it's going to be a battle. As Teresa throws here.
Just want to skim by the guard and sink this. Looks pretty good. Sweeper's on it for weight at this point. Like to drag it in.
They want to get this into the 4-foot out counting those other blue stones, and they will. So that's a better spot than even the other blue was. It was accessible for a hit. Now that guard is complicating things.
I can't quite tell, though, if the blue is second shot or if the yellow that was just delivered is second shot. It's close.
Julie's looking at an angle run here. We're down to her skip stones. Teresa threw her first. The 2 blue coming to 1 yellow. There's a lot of good things that can happen with this shot. Angle run here. Important thing being the raised rock will be in the top 8 foot. I think They're trying to aim this back onto the one that was just thrown. Maybe if they can get the angle right, clip the yellow. Could have 4 blues in the rings after this shot.
And she'd like to get enough of an angle to get her shooter out of the way as well, in case there's some blasting that needs to be done on the last.
Yeah, the steeper angle actually is going to work better. In order to get some action on the stones in the rings, hit this a little high side. It starts to look like a pretty vulnerable yellow if there's only one left. So big shot here, Julie McEvoy and her first in the 4th.
You certainly want to practice calling these shots as the person in the house so that you can understand where the rock needs to hit to get the right angle. It looks easy when they do it on TV, but it can be very tough.
So that one was wide, but look where the raised rock goes. They would have loved if that had stopped a foot higher and a foot closer to the button area. Would be good for an in-off. For now, Julie's Oak, she has a draw path on both sides. So Teresa just looking here, what's going to be our best option to force, or really, I mean, they're going for the steal, I think, at this point.
I mean, you can't stop everything. You have to decide what you want to leave the opposing skip left to shoot.
Teresa's looking at a hit and roll in on the blue there.
I like the guard. The hit and roll, if you're a little off angle, you could...
High side, you remove your own stone.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
and
I think it's risky.
You don't always like to think of those whoopsies, but it's worth considering, I think.
I find that's where my brain goes first.
How can this
It's
go
like,
wrong?
What are all the bad things that can happen? You love that, it's good. And then you do have to take those risks and think, well, I can't just assume I'm going to miss every shot.
No, that's right.
Sometimes there's like really bad things that can happen versus like,
yes,
okay,
exactly.
bad things that can happen. They're looking at just drawing in here again. Perhaps leaving it as a guard, but if it's coming a little deep, Marley just indicating you can.
If she's short, she's a guard, and if she's a little deep or heavy, she can roll in off of that blue. It's a little simpler with the junior strategy. It's avoid danger, call makeable shots.
I think sometimes it could boil down to that for
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. It means a more simple game, but it works for some teams.
Kind of depends where your expertise are and what you're comfortable playing.
Some people will be more than willing to take a huge risk because of the payoff.
Mm-hmm. And it is early. It's only the 4th end. It's a 10-end game. It's not a chance to adjust.
Sweepers are calling 3 on this, which is a tight guard, but it's coming in. Get that to the 4 foot. I think it takes away anything
And there's no double
on that other
playable.
side. And of course, I think with that little chip, yellow sits 2, so it's just a draw to full 4 foot for Julie McEvoy. They tried to get things going this end. Just weren't able to get those 2 yellows off the 4 foot with a couple tries.
And she's taking a little more ice here. She doesn't need the full come around. She just needs to get into the 4 foot.
Yes, you don't want to flirt with that
No,
top
you don't want to
4
flirt
foot
with either
stone.
of those, the guard or the 4 foot one. That's right. No benefit to that. In moments of lapsed concentration, I've seen skips think they have to play that come around. They know they have last rock, but still they've been playing it so long, and that's more of a junior thing than an adult thing. So Julie McEvoy with her last shot here. She'd love to sink this one. just to keep the score nice and close going into the 5th. Sweepers are calling weight. They're just keeping it clean. Just a light clean. A little harder now. A little more effort.
Once they know, and they're going for a line a little bit now, although they don't seem to want to go for weight. Might need a little tick now if this one's heavy.
Oh boy.
And they won't get the tick, and that looks like it will be. We'll wait for them to call. 1 for sure for yellow, a steal of 1. Is it 2?
Maybe time to get the measuring device out. Yeah.
So Kelly's going to have a look with the stick to make sure.
Just like that biter on sheet D a few minutes ago, it's always good to double check if you're not sure. From a coach's perspective, you're always very pleased when they make sure.
Yes. You'll get those aggressive teams. Sometimes I do that. Where you go 2 yellow,
Yeah.
real quick, and if the other team says yes.
Well, then they said yes.
Doesn't feel like the nicest thing, but you're
Well,
it's a strategy.
Yeah. The odd time, as a joke, I'll do that when the other team is clearly sitting 2 or 3, and I'll say, 1 red? And they're like, what? And they'll say yes, and then wait, no.
Yeah, it was so obvious.
Yes, exactly.
that they
No.
didn't bother to argue.
But I would be unlikely to try that in a serious game, just, just for fun.
Sometimes it becomes so is that teams are playing as if a certain scenario is in place. So they would be playing this end as if yellow was sitting 2. When really the team throwing blue, they were playing that way because they needed to access another stone, but they actually thought it was blue that was second shot, and so both teams can kind of get in their heads that, oh, that one's closer because of how the end's being played. So we just see here, looks like it was yellow, so it is a steal of 2.
So that makes it 4-1 after 4 for Team Breen. Both teams having a wee little chat before they begin their next end. I think the thinking time only starts when the first person throwing crosses the back line. So this is a chance for them to take a breath and get organized before their time starts ticking again.
So here we go. Team McEvoy, they will keep that hammer. Down 3 points.
And I think you'll see some guards in play in this end.
I suspect. And we did have it. They were making a good go for it last end. Just couldn't capitalize. And Team Breen really able to defend and put the pressure on, sitting 2 in the 4-foot after Teresa's last.
And away we go. Amanda Simpson delivering the first stone. England. This one
I think she goes by either
okay.
right now.
Looks like Teresa Breen wanted to get warmed up. She's come out to help the sweepers. Does get chilly for the skips sometimes.
It does. I think today is a little warmer. It's pretty uninsulated. Tracy Froud was talking about that. He says it's essentially a barn.
Yeah.
And it is. As we look down, we just see the boards on the outside at the back wall.
Oh, that's right.
There is insulation
Over the
along
roof,
the top
yeah.
here. But it does.
And it
This
must be a
club
li-
does take some of the outdoor temperatures, so he has to pay very close attention to the ice conditions.
And I see Jill Brothers here on sheet B has her big warm winter jacket on now. So I'm thinking that it might be a little chilly out there. So a couple of guards in play now. can't quite tell. Yeah. The first yellow is definitely a guard.
Guards from both teams here.
And looking to come around. This is really not curled yet at all. So that one is wide open, but Julie McEvoy is going to ignore it and actually looking for, she tapped both locations. I think she's saying it's okay if it's a guard that's tight to the rings and it's okay if it comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's your tolerance, your skip's telling you. Oftentimes as a player, you'll know your tolerance. If you're playing a freeze, usually there's not a lot of room. Draw, you got a couple feet. Just depends on the shot and the score and placement in the rings or outside the rings. Carly's sweeping this to get the curl. Although if they're not in the rings and it's not curled enough, well, they are.
Yeah, they are. They're a little bite of the 8 there, second shot.
And got it there. Might be
That
a
one's-
little bit visible, but
That curled a long way in that direction compared to the coming home curl.
so this is interesting. There's a sliver of the blue of the shot stone that can be seen, but with what happens later in the end, you'll tend to see a team say, "Well, you hit the one in the rings, but if you hit the guard, that's fine." In this case, 5-rack rule protects the guard. So if Jocelyn over curls and hits the guard,
She can bump it, but she can't bump it out.
it would go back in play. So the actual better way to play this stone, she makes it successfully, was to throw it wide. That's the pro side, is to try and get a piece of the blue, but not make contact with the guard.
And she got a little rub on her own rock on the 8 foot and stuck around back 12. So that's a nice result there for Jocelyn. It's sort of fun. We're watching, of course, the game on sheet C, and every once in a while you'll glance over at the other sheets and think, oh, wow, that's, it really favors one team or the other. And a few minutes you look back and it's a totally different scenario. Doesn't take long for it to turn around in curling.
This one's bearing nicely.
A little
The
deep.
issue is it's at the back 12 foot.
Yeah, second shot, though. Breen doesn't want them to get anything started here, so she's asking for the peel on the guard.
Yeah, she's stuck until 7, so Julie's gonna ready herself in case she plays out this little one.
Watch the shooter, though.
We have a 6. Several days, Jill said.
Rolls for a corner.
Sets up an opportunity on the other side, for sure.
Julie's calling the guard. I think we're getting late enough. Later in the end, you want to make a play on those yellows at some point. She's calling a really difficult shot through the port here, though.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, if she hits anything through that area, it'll benefit them, though.
yeah, I think you want to call it so that you keep your shooter in play, though, as well.
Yes.
Just don't see with this how the shooter sticks around. You have to throw an awful lot of weight to get through that port. Maybe there's a better alternative. I actually think that yellow and the tight yellow guard is in the way. You could hit that and roll for a corner on the other side that they were first talking about.
So your pro side misses to be tight on this broom.
Yeah, I just think this is unnecessarily difficult.
Yeah.
But maybe you can
Even
see
if
more.
you might even get a little lucky if you made a play on the center guard, you might end up with a double. Anyway, lots of chatter between Carly and Skip. Away we go. Sweeper working on this,
So if they don't get by, they want to,
and they made the peel.
yeah,
I
hit
think that's
enough.
a good result. Yeah. It's good to get your shooter out of the way, I think, in that case, not leave anything else for the Breen team to hide behind.
And no choice here now for Team Breen. There's just the one blue in the rings. They're going to have to leave that corner guard knowing that Team McEvoy's going to make a play around that next. This is almost just a distraction rock at this point. It wasn't coming into play necessarily. It wasn't shot stone. It was second. It is second, and that's why Teresa can't ignore it.
It's a great morning snack.
Marley will get that on the nose.
And stick around, which is just what the skipper ordered, I think.
So here's that play behind the corner. Really important to get a roll here.
Now on sheet B, the Jones brothers' fifth end is complete. However, nobody has posted a score, so it's a mystery as to what has happened there. And here goes Kelly Bachman. Little directional sweeping from Carly Jones, looking to not let this over curl, but a nice little roll. Boy, that looks pretty much perfect. So again, Teresa Breen looking to be defensive here. Would like to remove the blue rock, asking him for peeled weight, playing the run back actually, off of her own yellow. Sweepers are letting this one go. Just looks like a straight peel, which is the plan B shot for that call, definitely.
Just looking at which one's shot. It's kind of important. I think with Team McEvoy, and the yellow must be shot over the blue. Otherwise, be pretty tempted to put up a guard. Try and generate a 3 here. Maybe she's not sure.
She's not sure.
Yeah, that's like the one that might not be in or might be in. You
Right.
kind of have to assume it's in.
So it looks like she's playing the draw down to that back yellow. Give it a little punch and be sure you're sitting two.
Yeah, just use it as backing. Force a hit on the top blue. Maybe freeze to the back one again and hope for a miss. Get 3. That's how she goes here when you need a couple points. But no guards in play. It actually does look good for Team McEvoy for the deuce at this point.
This needs to curl.
Needs to make pretty solid contact with that yellow. It looks like it's heavy. So that does punch the yellow out. It was more of a soft hit weight. But now you see blue sitting 2 right now.
For the moment.
So does Teresa want to hit the top one? She can go for a slash. She can try and stick her shooter around. If she doesn't make the slash, she could hit the back one, which I just don't think is ideal. You're on your first shot, may as well.
Yeah, you can never make the back one any better than what it is. I like going after the first one as well. Something good could happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're calling the slash or a hit and stay.
It's pretty narrow ice.
She could be
For the
playing for the
slash.
over curl and roll in front of the blue.
Yeah, could be.
They have to watch the jam at the back. That one's pretty important to pay attention to. And that jam rock would be the reason I would play the slash. You're up 3. You can technically afford to give up the 2.
Yeah.
So I
But
think
you
you
never
can
really
play a
want
little
to.
aggressive. No, you don't want to. Yeah, they're trying to keep this high. Trying to get the other blue. Good enough. Oh no, too
stuffed
thin. It
it.
jams.
Yeah. Half the battle anyway.
Exactly. You've dealt with the stone in the top 8 foot.
Exactly, and that opens it up. No more hiding behind it now.
Yeah, and the idea here, of course, for Team Breen, why this is okay, is now Julie has to try and put that stone back where it was, because I think that was probably a pretty good spot for
I
it.
think so.
Very, very steep for a double the traditional way, and so it would leave Teresa that slash again, and high enough that if Teresa were to hit it, she wouldn't have shot. So they'll be looking for top 8 foot weight.
I see over on sheet E, Marianne Arsenault delivering her last, but Hilliard has one more to throw. She's playing a hit against 3. She made the hit and got a roll, but Hilliard has a chance to pick up 3 here.
Be a big 3. Hilliard's down 6-0 after steals in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
That would make them feel good going into the break to pick up the 3 here. So Julie McEvoy's rock is away. Sweepers on and off, easy with it. And Selena, I think they're looking for that to go right back where you wanted it to go.
I think so. They could be playing to the back one as well, which actually might be the call. I just,
Yeah, they're
if
sweeping
it's not
past
perfect,
tee.
you might leave it double. But
Pretty good
pretty
freeze.
good.
Yeah.
I think Teresa will have a go at it. It's not a lot of risk. Hit it too thick, you roll your shooter in front. Thin, well, you probably make the double.
So it's sort of interesting. There's 2 ways to come at this with your turns.
There are, but she's only looked at one.
Yeah, she's looking at sort of the action turn.
Yeah, I think to make the double in this case, they're fairly close together. They are flat, but you go into the side of the frozen blue on yellow, and
this will
it'll
tend to
pop
go
out easily.
lower. The bounce will go lower with the action shot, but I think it looks good.
Yeah, and I think that'll help shoot the blue out the side. The blue's not
No, it's not.
dead frozen on the yellow, and it's slightly on the outside.
You really
so
do have to hit it
it'll go
sideways to
easier.
get it.
Yeah, I think this is the right turn.
Can I have your attention? This is to do with tomorrow morning and Sunday morning. Across the street for parking, I know you've been parking there most of this week. Unfortunately, the market is open on Saturday and Sundays, so we won't be able to park in that parking lot. Saturday night at 7 o'clock will be fine, but during Saturday
This
and
is
Sunday
not
day
what we
games, please
expected.
don't park across the street in the market parking lot. Thank you.
All right, here it
Okay.
comes. Will she get the double or the roll? Oh, neither. Over curled.
It was very quiet wait. That's why I said it's not what we expected. I sort of expected to see more of a sort of a peel weight to get the double.
Yeah, I was thinking the double was Teresa's call, but I think they were just playing the hit and roll.
Hit and roll, yeah.
A little surprised at that. I love the double call. I think it was there all day.
Easy to see for the people who aren't throwing the rock.
Exactly. I can't judge. I'm not playing. So after the back and forth this end, it is a shot for 2 here that Julie McEvoy has. In the 5th. We'll go to the break after.
So just looking for a hit and stick here.
Oh, and she was tight.
Oh dear.
She did not get out to the broom on that, and that'll be another steal. So we'll go into the break, 5th end break. With that steal of 1, Breen will lead 5-1 over Julie McEvoy. 5 ends to come here and draw 6 of the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. And we'll catch you back in a few. Yeah, if you need to mute. Yeah, I don't know which one's which headset, so you mute them both. But it's good to know that there's the other one doesn't have it. A lot of chatter in the background. It's like I'm trying to drink and not make noise. I know. I can hear like the person's intimate discussion while they're whispering. Oh dear. So he'll make every 3 over there. Back into a weird thing. Julie did with that. She just must have thrown it. You know? It was, but you know, it's like when you like, oh, I got this, now I got it too. It's great. And then you just don't focus on your shot. I don't know.
You know,
hard and tight.
Like you needed to throw more.
Well, she do with control. It's just you can't throw it tight and light. But that is where you get lazy, like on the open hit for a multiple. But you got to hit the rock, or else the other team steals. Like that's a 3-point swing.
Good morning, lady.
Hey,
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right.
Get tired of talking?
Always tired of talking.
This is the best gig ever. Because you get to come and watch for free and talk to somebody else who's interested in her.
Yeah.
It's good. Good fun.
Good.
sheets on sheet B. It's brothers and she's Personal is 63 of the 200.
So this is the fifth end.
Sixth
Sorry,
end.
sixth end. Pay attention, Selena.
High garden play from McEvoy. And one of Teresa Breen's rocks in the house, back 8. Just biting the 12-foot.
And if you didn't catch us at the start, you're hearing Pam Sullivan there and Selena Thompson here with the call on this draw 6 of the Scotties. Bit of a lopsided affair at this point with a 4-point differential, Breen over McEvoy, but the game certainly hasn't looked that way from the end standpoint. Just some key shots at stages for Team McEvoy, really, as they were looking to generate points and have had their chances, at least in a couple ends.
And we always say with the 5-rock rule that there are larger multiple ends. We haven't seen it a lot in this game, but 3s are not uncommon with the 5-rock rules. So still a good chance for McEvoy to catch up. 5 ends remaining, so lots of time.
This guard is just dying.
Similar to the first one. I think they want it a little tighter, and it's pretty much the same. It's really a little bit long to be much of a factor, I think. Although it might be a little difficult with them staggered a bit too. If somebody ever gets behind there, it may present more difficulty to remove a rock in behind. So Selena, this is precisely the setup you were talking about before. 2 rocks in play and looking for a guard, or in this case, a 12-foot.
Yeah, Amanda's rocks there behind the tee line there. We see that sometimes after the 5th end break. Teams will go a little deep. So they have to play the 3rd one in the top of the rings. Ideally, those 2 at the back are a little higher up, and then there's center guard. Now the play's in the rings, and Julie can make a hit and roll behind the guard. You wouldn't want to put a center guard, a high center guard on that, because then Team McEvoy could play around the center. So you're trying to keep the play in the rings for Team Breen, and for Team McEvoy, get something going behind that corner. Those double corners, they're just so high, they're probably going to get peeled out, and you'll have a chance to make a better one.
They're fairly tight. You might even get a good double peel on it if you can avoid the jam. But then you'd end up stuffing your own, probably. You'd probably still leave a guard in play.
Yeah, I think you leave a guard even if you double those. Right. This one not curling. Wanted to cross the face on this, and they're hitting high side.
Almost could have swept that and gotten the one on the button. That's an unfortunate result with Breen's yellow rock going behind the long double guard. And those guards are out close to the hog line.
And if you're thinking, why aren't they just hitting the stone in the rings, the blue? There's a blue in the rings. Why don't you hit it? Yellow's sitting 1, 2, and 3. The blue stone is on the open side of the sheet.
It'll always be there.
And there are overlapping guards.
Yeah.
The guards are the dangerous stones right now. They're just looking if they can get the double on the center line side, or if they actually have to hit it. I think you just hit it a little high side. If you clip it and even chip it sideways, that's good. Key thing is to not leave 2 rocks out front. If you try to make the double, you over curl, you leave your shooter as a corner guard, and you leave
you could leave 2
the top
in place
one.
again.
You could make it worse. So I think this is the right call here for Jocelyn.
Hit one and hit it well. Let's wait on this one. Should see some action. And they chipped that blue one aside, just as you mentioned. Got it off
makes
of
the
line.
peel, loses the shooter, and chips that one over. I think that's pretty.
I'd give her a 125 for that one.
Could have curled a hair more and chipped that blue, but that was pretty close to perfect. So this is a play into the shot stone. in the top 8 foot. A little extra weight here from Carly. I think they're going to, or sorry, the second shot stone. Look at this roll though.
Sitting on the lid for the moment.
So right for now, it's distracting away from that corner guard. They're going to make a play around it after.
Yellow, I would say, is almost directly behind the long blue corner guard out near the hog line.
The hung line.
The hog line, yeah.
We're going to come up with some interesting
That's a new
terms.
version.
Have you heard of the one we say sometimes, the squiggle, where you have some guards that are tight together, but maybe enough room if you hit it right to squiggle your shooter through. This one is curling. They got to avoid the jam here. Oh, it makes
That was very nice.
Lucky there. Got the jam, but
sitting forward.
Lost the blue and lost the other blue at the back 8 foot as well. But
sometimes the luck feels like it's going all one way, and that was.
It does.
Nice.
The only good thing there about that for Team McEvoy is it rolled the shooter over to a place there. There's not really going to be any rocks around the 4 foot to contend with, so those yellows are starting to help Team McEvoy because they're getting at the tee line or further back.
And the two back hosts are likely not to be a factor as the end goes on. And we hear some applause in the background. Somebody made a great shot somewhere.
It was Jill Brothers. She had a really tough hit and stay in the 4 foot against 2 rocks in the 4 foot. Hard to outdraw without just being button. Drawing again would be a draw against 3, so she played the hit and just had to squirt a blue or a yellow Jones stone sideways, and her shooter had to outcount it. So a difficult shot, but I think she made it for the single. Tie game. Brothers Jones, 2 apiece.
Really, really close. All of the Jones games that I've seen have been very much like this. Team seems very patient.
They are incredibly patient. And I think that's paid off with their 5-0 record.
Mm-hmm.
Top team throughout the tournament so far.
So we have from the mate on, we have mate stones rather, and a nice hit here. Getting rid of that blue stone. Looking for a nice freeze in here, right into the pocket, I think. Line is critical here. It's coming in nicely. Sweepers are giving it a chance. A little bit of a bounce on the yellow. This Team McEvoy is trying to find a way to keep their rock from being removed here.
Yeah, it's tough because they're not quite as precise as they need to be, and it's so hard. I know that's a critical comment, but when you really need to use the opponent's stones as backing, you have to be precise, and you can't leave a lot of room because these teams can throw the big up weight. Teresa Breen certainly can chuck it pretty hard. So she's going to peel this blue rock out. They're talking about jamming, but I think you throw enough weight and you hit it a little high-sided, it goes.
And even if you lost your yellow in the back, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You just wouldn't want to stuff it.
Probably better if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just like in the last end, Breen can afford to give up a deuce, and now even if they do, they remain up 2. And at this point, if Teresa hits this, they'd be looking at a deuce maximum, with only 2 blues to come.
And the tone of this end has really been dictated by both of the lead stones for the McEvoy's team were such long guards that they really haven't been a helpful factor for them.
No, they're having to use those stones in the rings.
So the setup, especially when you're down, the setup is so critical. And here comes Teresa Breen. This one just staying straight. Oh, it's starting to come now. Sweeper's on it.
Hangs on that center line, and then it does start to move. Ooh, almost overcalled the sweep on that miss.
Well played.
Almost chipped the yellow at the back. It was no problem missing those yellows. She
No.
only hit a small piece of that rock.
Yeah.
So it was straight on the center, and then once it moved, it fully crossed center quickly and then stopped curling. So you can see why the tendency for the over sweep would be there.
They see Marley and
You get
Teresa
committed.
having a little chuckle as she's coming into the house there, which I always like to see. It's good to see the curlers having a bit of fun while playing out here. Can feel very serious at times. Nice to see a
Yeah,
smile.
and I mean it is serious. It's a
Oh, of
it's a big
course.
deal, but you tend not to play your best when you're rigid and not relaxed.
Yeah. I know that's certainly the case for me. It's interesting. You know, they're going for trying to get the two, trying to get a multiple. But when the end doesn't set up right, at some point there's a time when you have to figure out when you want to bail and try to go for the blank. We're well past that now. And that was a well-placed draw. It's not shot rock, but it's certainly a wee little hit on it knocks the yellow out to sit shot. It's giving Marley and Teresa a chance to think about it and decide what they want to leave for the last rock for.
Exactly. She can probably get a little hair of it and chip it out. I think it's worth playing. I think it's worth playing the shot that tries to get you the best result. Although,
I mean, it is second shot.
Yellow? Yeah, sorry. I was
Yeah.
thinking blue was shot.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
sitting
second.
2 is fine then.
Yellow, bravo.
So she's drawing to the other side or going for the hit here?
I think drawing.
I think so. And then that really forces McEvoy into making a shot for one.
Yeah, and what I think it would be a double off her own. Mm-hmm. But a really tough one because you can't afford to let the blue squirt out the side. And there's the separation between the blue and the yellow.
Oh, we're having a change of heart, I think. We're having another.
Sweepers might have mentioned that Julie may have a shot. If you put this over on the side, it may give her a shot for 2.
Right.
I just really think the tolerance is 2 here. You also could guard.
Oh, she's given a good look there. Maybe they're not so short. It looks quite, from the overhead camera, it looks clearly yellow to me. But I'm not the one throwing that rock, so. Really great that the sweepers are on top of it enough, if they do see something before the skip settles into the hack, to make mention of it. You know, give it a chance for a sober second thought. And I can't see the time, but I imagine these teams have lots of time remaining. They've been playing at a really good pace for the most part. So over on Sheet E, Marianne Arsenault gave up 3 to Hilliard in 5, but answered with 2 more in 6. So the score there is 8-3 for Arsenault over Hilliard. And of course, you can follow all the scores on NS Curl.
So I think Teresa elected to go for the guard on this one. That or it's a soft white little wick. I didn't see what they actually called. They were chatting.
Yeah, we're talking about even drawing in, but it looks
the
like the
guard.
broom's going down for the guard.
Yeah. So they think their
I like
shot's
the
stone.
guard.
The risk of the draw would leave a shot for Julie. So this play is to prevent the tap back that Julie would need for the deuce.
So you want it to be long to prevent a short tap back, but line is everything.
It looks like it will do the trick. Don't know if Julie has a way to access that blue stone and get the deuce out of this. It would be a soft weight draw chip, but she'd be chipping it sideways, and I just don't think she would get shot out of
I
it.
don't think you would either. I think she's got the cold draw for one.
You can hope and pray and wish that there was a shot, but I really just I think that was a good call for Teresa.
Yeah, the guard is overlapping that 4-foot line, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they're
So-
Christmas tree
Yeah, they're Christmas treed there.
in the wrong way,
In the wrong way, absolutely. Yeah, I don't.
like an upside down Christmas tree.
And she's got about the same ice, so a little more now. I was going to say about the same ice as the last rock that was thrown. So maybe she's. You want to
I'm
get your
going to
one.
say draw for one.
I think so. I think so. And Breen's team has done their job here. They've got a tight scoring area. Those draw to the buttons always seem nice and close to the button, but it can be hard later in the game to find that exact weight again. And an update. Oh, so McEvoy's rock is away. Sweepers look like they're working fairly hard for weight. Looks pretty good. Backman's broom goes up as if the shot's been made, so I think they've got their draw for one. Well done.
As the thrower, it's good for one. We'll have a look at this again, but we'll say it's one. Yes, that last rock thrower, your team will often like say good shot, or you just kind of want to know like,
Can I breathe?
Did I make it? Because you're staying at the other end, and sometimes they'll give you the good shot even if they're not sure.
Yeah.
Or if you made it good enough. You know, they want to give you a pat on the back because it was close. Anyway, she made that for sure for one. We'll have a measure, but Team Breen certainly thinking that it was the yellow stone that shot. Looks like it from the overhead, but can't hurt to check.
And it's hard to tell because from the overhead camera, the blue rocks look smaller. I know that sounds funny. But
They do.
From our
The
distance.
granite blends in with the blue handle. So while we wait for a measure here for a potential second point, we'd like to remind you that you are watching the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, the 2019 Nova Scotia Provincial Women's Curling Championships here at the Dartmouth Curling Club. They've been a great host all week long, and expect things to get heated up and some more viewers coming out once the workday is over. We've got a 2 o'clock game, the Deloitte Tankard, also being held this week on opposing draws, so that's 2 o'clock, and the final women's draw 7 will be this evening at 7 o'clock. We will have live streaming, of course, as we have all week, and we will have through the weekend, through playoffs. That live streaming is brought to you by our friends at 360 Live, powered by Bell Fibe. We want to thank Kruger Products, the title partner for the Scotties, and remind everybody that these teams are playing for a chance to represent Nova Scotia at the National Championships in Moose Jaw in February. The measure has to wait for a shot to be played.
Yes, indeed.
Bridget didn't know. She was in the way.
She was in the zone of her game, for sure. They've got a close game going over there. It's
we'll
a
see.
4-2 after 6. Matadol over Driscoll. Sorry, I'm
Something.
choking
No,
there.
McKenna Driscoll.
There we go.
So the indication was the yellow was shot, but of course the blue that Julie threw on her last was the shot stone. It just means that wasn't for 2 points. It was just for the single made. She still trails though, 5-2. Breen playing 7. We'll have Hammer up 3 points. We mentioned based on the records, both these teams playing it out, but unfortunately, there's enough teams at 1, 2, 3, and even no losses that they are not in playoff contention. But we are keeping you updated on the other scores, the teams that are vying for that spot. Brothers and Jones locked in a dead heat at 2 apiece. Jones, the only undefeated team so far. They'll play Arsenault this evening. Arsenault currently with an 8-3 lead over Tanya Hilliard.
They look like once she gets ahead, they play a very clean game. It looks very difficult to score.
Yeah, so they're middle to Jen Baxter and Christina Black for Team Arsenault. They can be hitting machines. Lots of peels. We might have to bring the stick out to see if this stone's in the rings or not. Teresa wants to hit it. I think the officials will just get annoyed to keep having to bring the measures out.
Well, yep, they're going to check. I don't blame them. You want to know. For sure, if you're Breen, if that's in, she wants to remove it.
So the time clock will remain paused as we wait for the measure. That 6-foot stick.
The officials are getting their exercise on that sheet today. Running the measuring sticks from end to end. And so this one's just a biter stick, and there's no micrometer attached to it. It's just going to check and see if, in fact, it touches the stone, and then we'll know whether or not it's in the hose. And as Selena mentioned earlier, you can only do this mid-game for free guard rocks.
It's super important here. Team Breen up 3 with hammer. They're not going to play a guard. They would want to hit that if it's in.
It seems like the stick flowed by kind of easily. I think it's...
Yeah.
So she's playing the split.
She's going to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good call.
Well, it removes it from center, and if you've hit it right, your own won't be on center either. So I like this call. Where it is so close.
Yeah, you can play it with draw weight. If you have a guard that's higher and you're trying a split, you tend to play it with back line weight, but this can be played with draw or...
And you should know
looks
the
like
ice
Amanda's
because
playing it
they
similarly.
just dropped it down there.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
Just hit a piece of it. Don't want to remove it, but it's easier to roll the shooter in the closer it is to the rings. And there we go, perfectly made.
And with the quiet weight, you don't have to worry about the guard stone going out and having to be replaced.
So the center guard again from Shelley Barker. It's tough, you get that little win not having the first one in the rings, and Team Breen goes and makes a perfect split.
Sweepers on this fairly early. Julie looking for this to be on the Deloitte. That seems to be the sweet spot for the guards. All
Yeah,
the teams,
tight but not too tight.
Yeah. And for the skips, it's great to have those in-ice advertisements. Makes it easy for reference points when you're holding the broom. And a good reminder for who your sponsors are.
Exactly. In this case, we're on the Deloitte tankard sheet. The final for the tankard will be on sheet C on Sunday, 9:30 a.m. The Scotties, they'll be on sheet D where we've got all the Scotties logos.
Yeah, the Scotties and sponge towels.
And we've got an array of products up at the bar as well here at the club to remind everyone. It's an awesome partner.
And they've been a
Scotties
partner
Kruger
for
products have
forever.
been. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The old Scott tournament.
That's right.
It's been, I don't know how many years, but longer than I can ever remember.
I've never known it to be anything else. So, from certainly whenever I started watching curling.
Yeah, and of course the Briar has changed. It's currently the Tim Hortons Briar, but gone through a number of
Labatt,
sponsors.
Nokia. And,
Yeah, but Tim Hortons has been there for quite a while
They sure
now.
have.
Tim Hortons a good sponsor of curling as well. We got the winter sports, hockey and curling.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was going to say. I think they do some soccer as well. Timbits soccer for the kids in the
yes.
summer. Yep.
So the same kids that play Timbits hockey in the winter switch to the
Or curling. Or curling.
curling.
Yep. I know we have some older now, little tiny Timbit brooms for the juniors.
Yes. So the draw around. Not going to mess around for Team Breen. They're just going to hit.
Keep it clean and have a chance for your last. That's the recipe, I think, for that team at this point. Well, we have handshakes over on the Matatall. Must have been a big end.
Yeah, Matatall was up 2, and they finished the 7th and shook hands, but Matatall had a hammer. So I'm going to assume Matatall scored a big one, calling Pinckney in as Mary Matatall's away coaching her junior team at the national championships, and they're in the championship round, 2nd place, Taylor Stevens. So we're going to tell you that Matatall has gone to 2 and 4.
And it's a score of 8-2 after 7.
There we go, and McKett and Driscoll, they'll drop to 2 and 4 as well. So Matatall bringing their record to the same as McKett and Driscoll's, and based on the other records, that will put McKett and Driscoll out of playoff contention at 4 losses. Even if Colleen Jones loses,
even if she loses to
both today, she's still going to be in that top 3, of course, because Hilliard and Arsenault are both at 1 loss, currently playing each other. One of them will go to 2 losses, and Brothers is also at 2.
So it'll sort things out here quite a bit probably after this set of games is complete.
We'll have a little bit of clarity for a couple teams, and unfortunately clarity for those teams that are out, and
right.
Maybe a little bit of, okay, who's ahead of who.
I wonder if that's a bit of a grind if you're one of the teams that you know can't make it and you still have another game to play, if you're as enthused as you might otherwise be.
Yeah, you're a little more excited at the beginning of the week when everyone, has the same chances, and as the records come out, it is a long week, and you don't want to have to be playing a game that isn't putting you into anything else on the weekend, but sure is fun to play spoiler.
I suppose so.
So it's some Breen stones in the rings. McEvoy here, 7th end, though. They could afford a force, but they're obviously going quite hard for the steal here. If they force Breen to a single, they'd be down 4 points. With 3 ends to play, that is a doable recovery. Want this one to stop. Sitting 2 is important here for Kelly Backman. Like I said, those 3 yellow stones in the rings, you have to be so careful, because if Breen were to score with multiples, we would have game, I think, but Kelly able to put that one in a great spot in the 4-foot.
So Breen is running her own. The other 2 are open. Well, one of them is open. One might just have a sliver showing. If this hits well, there'll be nothing to hide behind. Oof.
Oh, and
really
just touches the back one, doesn't remove it. So one of those yellows is now gone. A little less risky for Team McEvoy, and guarding 2 shot stones late in the end. Button's open for Teresa to draw, so they're going to actually come the other way and try and block off that centerline path. Don't want to leave too much open on the intern side, the other side of the sheet, because Marley could make a hit and roll behind, but I think with the 3-point differential, well, he's probably going to be peeling this guard or running it.
I think so. I can't quite see the angles, but without a guard on there, it looks like a double is probably doable. Waiting for this one to curl now. It looks like it might be a tad heavier than they expected. Well, that complicates things. Just top 12, almost biting 8.
You can get all those blues moving. There might be a jam on the side yellow, but I think it's a good chance to get something going here. Just a couple feet deep.
Yeah, you can't afford to ignore it. Just the position is kind of good. And of course, they'd like to get multiples going, that's for sure.
It's trying to hit centerline side of the stone, but it's curling up to nose, and ooh, unlucky jam.
Yeah. Change some of the angles a little bit, but unfortunately left the yellow in a... Doesn't really help McEvoy all that much, but certainly anything out there.
Yeah, it's a raisable rock for Team Breen, but for Team McEvoy, I think they're looking at this as an opportunity to remain sitting two, guarding as we come into skip stones. I'm going to leave Teresa that raise no matter what. The easier shot right now is for Teresa to hit, so you have to guard that. I wonder if Teresa can see enough of that stone on the side 4 foot, the shot stone. They're guarding the back stone.
I think she could see a sliver of it, but...
So I think if this is made, Teresa might change gears and actually play into the one in the side 4 there. She could play the short run on her own. All depends on where this stone ends up, what she's going to have left. So we get so late in the end on the skip stones, you start abandoning your bailout rule and say, well, if I'm looking at a steal, I mean, getting forced is still good as long as I score. Delay the game. And Team McEvoy, I think, is okay with that. They're okay with a force. They'd love to steal, though. The stone guarding the center. It prevents the play that I was talking about onto that side 4, and Teresa may just go for the back one. And she's indicating to just draw now. She really would like to score here. If you hit the back one, of course, and that's why I didn't necessarily love a guard on the back one. Teresa is forced to play the draw. Or sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. If you guard the back one, she's forced to play the little double.
Yeah.
This way you're bringing play into that center and you're really, the force is on here.
Well, if she hit the one in the back of the 4 foot area, it looks, or that's sort of on the 8 foot there, it looks like she would probably be shot.
I know, but then Julie could freeze.
Yes, exactly. So you don't want to do that.
So this is a change of gears for Team Breen here as we're on to skip stones. Teresa Breen's first in the 7th end.
And she must think that she's going to have a draw on her second one.
Yes.
Good chance to dial her weight in and get a good feel for the shot that she thinks she's going to have to play. I see the 7th end is complete on sheet B with a blank. Score remains tied at 2 apiece for Brothers and Jones. She covered the lid.
So what can Julie see? I think she's just going to have to tap it back a couple feet if she can do that.
I think
might be able to sit 2
2/3
or 3.
open, I would say. It looks like from the overhead.
But I think important really to sit the 1.
For sure.
This is a soft weight, probably a back line.
And if she just punches this a little bit, it makes leaving some catchers in the back there, something good might happen.
Exactly.
Getting tougher and tougher for Breen to score multiples, and certainly no blank attempt available at this point.
This one is wide. Julie put a little extra on that. Carly's trying to sweep it to curl, but
it's a little heavy as well.
They are not making contact. They're actually going to remove their own. That's too much weight for the ice there. So Team Breen.
Wonder if you'd ever play the run and try to get a multiple here. The angle run on the yellow.
Would you run it and try and risk chipping your own out and giving up a steal?
I don't know. You could.
She's playing the draw.
Yeah. That's a smart move.
What would you do if you were in this situation?
If I was throwing, I'd play the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
My precision on that hit would be a Murphy's Law situation typically.
Exactly.
Yep.
You'd give up the steal.
Yep.
So take your 2. Chance to go up 5.
Yeah, they're not in a position where they need to take a risk. We're waiting here for Teresa Breen's last rock, looking to draw in for 2. Scoring area is plenty tight. Need full 4-foot. She did just throw this. If she gave her own a wee little tap, that would be fine.
I know, but it's harder when it's
I
for the
know.
second point and it's actually going to count.
Yeah. Throw the exact same shot.
Sweepers were on this, and it's hanging a bit.
It was hanging a
It
bit.
makes contact. Might be good for the 2, but look, roll.
Rolls.
Too heavy.
Swung back in at the end. I wonder if it'll be another measure.
Oh, I think just the 1.
Yeah, I think so.
That'll be disappointment. They needed that to curl.
A little
Single.
oversweep, a little concern about weight early on maybe. Had they let it curl a bit more, it might have finished better, but those are tough shots in a very tight scoring area.
Single point there for Team Breen. They'll lead 6-2. Glimmer of hope for Team McEvoy. They were looking at being down 5. Do my math. 5. Yeah, they're only down 4. 3 ends to go. And we look across the sheets. We're just finishing the 8th end in the Brothers Jones game where they're on to Skip's Rocks.
It's a fairly open end once
Arsenault Hilliard. Hilliard taking 2 in the 7th. They trail by 3 in the 8th. Trying to get something going there. And Jill Brothers against Jones making the double, taking away the chance for 2, really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kim Kelly might have something to say about that.
She may have, but it's, yeah. There's nothing to hide behind, that's for sure. Which is, I think, why there's so many blank ends in this game.
Yeah, it's a
Pretty
tight
open.
game, but it's being very well executed by both teams.
Yeah, it is.
And we start the 8th off here. Draw 6, 8th end. Breen, McEvoy, Breen leading 6-2. Teresa Breen actually missing an open draw to the full 4-foot there. Just a little heavy. Only getting the 1, but happy to score and happy to be up as they were looking at a potential steal all end.
And this is just touching the tee line. I think last time they came home, they were deep on their first couple of rocks, so this is a start to a better setup for Breen's team.
Yes, they were that 6th end. Going back 4 and back 8.
And I believe we're having a corner guard right on the E, I'm going to go with. What do you think?
T.
T? Oh, E. There we go.
I think it's going to curl enough to be on the E in Deloitte.
I think so.
So no question here. Setup becomes a lot more straightforward when there's a score differential and we head into the final ends. The team that's up plays quite defensive, brings play into the rings, just waits for that chance to start peeling and hitting.
They do not want to leave this one out in front. Sweepers were looking anxious for a moment, but they've let up now. Looks like it'll be in right about where Skipper's looking for it.
They want that in right on the center line. Good shot
Nice.
from Amanda. It's the setup that your team's always looking for. Second corner guard called here for Team McEvoy. They're playing it on the same side and looking for this to be high. Julie indicated, of course, you see her indicate with her broom tight and then
Tight.
point to the top so
Yeah.
you know the line, but she doesn't want to walk out does take time. It takes time to walk out. So you just say, I want it this line, but up here.
Okay.
So this one they probably want a little tighter to the center line than the other, but it looks like
Look,
it's
it's going. Yeah.
curling more. They need it to be over, of course, but the more separation, the better. That looks like a really good shot there from Shelley Barker.
Just might have overcurled a little as it came to a stop compared to where they wanted it, but still nice to have the two corners up there.
And 5-rock rule, of course, can't hit those guards. So center guard called here from Jocelyn Adams. And this rule change coming into play last year really has changed the role of the second stone. Second stone used to be as soon as it was seconds and you had a chance to peel, you'd be peeling. But now a lot more of those delicate shots are being played by second stone throwers, a lot more guards, and some really important draws. So a lot more versatility in shot selection being brought to the second stone position.
A well-placed center guard here is going to make a tough end for Team McEvoy. Drop path is wide open though. Oh, wondering if they'll go behind the corner or freeze into the shot stone.
And in the Jones brothers game, Kim Kelly throwing last rock for Colleen Jones. I think they were looking for the blank if it happened, but they were up against a pretty well frozen rock from Jill Brothers on her last, and will take the single. Successful hit, but didn't roll the shooter out. So Jones will lead 3-2 in a very tight match. Jones, the only undefeated team in this field. Brothers trying to stay at 2 losses and stay in the playoff picture, the defending champions. And here's Carly Jones.
I don't think that was quite what they wanted, but it's not. At least they got some change of angles going.
Yeah, moved the stones off the center line there with the exception of shot stone. The only issue is the shooter stays out front. It's kind of in the way.
Yeah.
Corner guards are still, can be used. Jocelyn and Peel now as well.
Sure thing.
There are 2 Breen stones in the rings. There is a double available to get to shot stone. For Team McEvoy, I really think that those guards are the risk.
Yeah.
Let McEvoy make the double, but you want to be able to hit. We're going to have a timeout. Team will talk strategy.
Well, calling the timeout, waiting for the timers. Waiting for the timers to turn off.
They saw it.
Yeah. Now, do either of these teams have a coach that goes out on the ice? Jeff
Team
Wilson?
Breen has Jeff Wilson. He's
Yep.
just not here this week.
Okay.
He's not here for his own team playing in the Tankard either. Taylor Ardeal's in sparing for him on
dear.
Team Manual, and
Okay.
they're at a record of 4-2 with the 1 game to come this afternoon. It could be a very tight race in the men's division with one team, Team Murphy, at 5-1. And then I think it's 3 or 4 teams
All
at a
in the
record of
same?
4-2. The 2 Thompson brothers, Matt Manuel and Chad Stevens. So 4.
So we could
if I
have
can
a.
count. Very tight there.
Yeah, we could have some tiebreakers.
But Stuart Thompson plays Jamie Murphy, so that'll be a must-win for Stuart Thompson, and that'll bring Murphy down to this record. Kendall Thompson started at 0-2 and has won the past 4, defeating Jamie Murphy last evening in a big game
So
for
he's on
both
a
of those
roll.
teams.
Nice.
So a bit of a momentum change in the men's. And Chad Stevens, I think, opened up at 4-0 or 3-0 and dropped a couple row. So everything's very even in the men's. And we could have something like that here in the women's as well, as Team Breen talks about strategy and what they want this end to look like. Up 4 points. They don't want to give up a 3, which is why I would be very tempted to peel.
I was just going to say appealing here. There's really.
This team tends to play into the end, though, I have to say, from my experience with them. They're not worried about rocks in play, and Teresa's not scared to throw that last shot against a bunch. She
That's
just
really
doesn't have last shot this time.
That's right. But right now, all the rocks in play are hers. But still, the complication has got to be that center guard out there.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
the reason for this and what they would have talked about.
they're electing to use it, really.
Exactly, just trying to complicate things and make it harder for Team McEvoy. Team McEvoy is going to have to do something with that center guard very soon.
And the
Otherwise,
last thing
it's
you want to
hurting
do
them.
is have to run your own guard as the person throwing last rock. So I like this. It complicates things, and a well-made shot can make it pretty tough on the other team.
Yeah, I think Team McEvoy will have to run it at an angle, try and catch the one on the side, 8 foot. But this looks like,
That's basically exactly where they had their broom.
yeah, well made from Jocelyn. That was the shot that the team agreed on. So Julie's trying to get another one in before she plays that run back. Carly's going to have to play it at some point. And Julie's looking at the straight run. They haven't looked at the one on the side, but you have those corner guards there. Why not try and use them? Could play the out turn, coming the other way and run that into the side, leave the center open. I think Team Breen would then guard, but right now you're going to, if you don't make this, you're leaving a guard out front anyway. So there is some risk to this, but if you make it, it's a great payoff. You leave a guard and your shot stone is buried. This one's over curling already though.
Might have the one
And they
on
make the
8
other
foot
shot.
and then roll out of the way, maybe. Oh, it's a peel, I think.
Be a little too thin. If they can clip the yellow, should stick around. That's a lot less weight than I thought Carly was playing on that. Blue sticks around the back 12 though.
And I guess they got the peel that we talked about.
They did, just not
Almost,
with as
yeah.
much weight as I thought. Maybe Carly threw that light.
But you did, yeah, they had quite a bit of ice, so you didn't want to put too much on it, but
And consistent with Breen's strategy based on their timeout discussion, this is a guard guarding the center. They're not worried about the one at the back 12, just because there are 3 yellows in play.
yeah, that one is a long time from being a problem. Sweepers are watching this one. It looks like it might overcurl a bit. A wee little overcurl.
Tentative good shot from Amanda to Marley. You're kind of thinking like, it's kind of good, but could have held out a little more. See Julie very quickly calling a soft weight tap here from Kelly Backman.
I think we've had handshakes over on the Arsenault-Hilliard game. It looks like
Oh.
11-5 after 8 ends.
3 in the 8th.
Yeah.
So that brings those two teams to even records.
She made good use of her hammer there. With the
Oh,
3.
sorry. No, it keeps Arsenault at 1 loss.
5-1, yeah.
Yeah, and takes Hilliard to 4-2. So Arsenault at 5-1. As the live scoring just updated as I opened my phone. I was thinking Arsenault was at 2 losses. I watched their game last night against McEvoy, and McEvoy had them, and Arsenault came back strong, ended up stealing a couple in the 8th en route to a victory there to stay at a single loss.
Oh, good for you.
And now we see that there's 2 empty sheets of ice out in the shed, and sometimes that can affect on your times when you're throwing those rocks. The fewer bodies out there, temperature change, and sometimes you hear people give that some consideration as they're watching the times and timing the rocks and that sort of thing.
Tends to slow down.
And that is a lonely blue rock.
A lonely blue and 2 yellows out front. Really is tough when the other team decides to play offensive if you're not making your big shots here for Team McEvoy to generate those points. It just gets congested. And this is a change. I talked about Team Breen maybe peeling and they chose to play, and this is a change with that 5 rock rule that's tending to happen.
Absolutely.
You allow a couple rocks, a couple guards out on the side, but then it gives the team without hammer really incentive to play around that center line and then sometimes just go aggressive. So it's paying off so far for Dean. For a run here. Cleared out both guards. Actually resulted in a good shot there from Kelly.
It's kind of a setup situation. There's no, they're not shot, but certainly opens up some possibilities.
And Teresa's going to have a hard time popping that blue one out of play right now. Looking like she's guarding. Late enough in the end. We've seen this from this team before. You get late enough in the end, and she says, well, you go make the shot.
Yeah, that's right. It's her last rock.
Her first.
Her.
Amanda's hiding the other.
Oh, Amanda's
stone.
hiding the other one, is she? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Kelly just threw
yeah.
the other one.
Yeah. So I like the guard. I mean, it does force the other team to have to make a tough shot. We did see the last one over curl in this position. I think that Marley threw down.
Sweepers don't mind the weight. Trying to keep it out a little bit for line, though. So you see the sweepers, if it has to go for line, they'll get on it early. And then when it gets to the end of its path, they really just have to come off and let it stop. Sweeping at the end of a rock's path really encourages that last bit of curl, so they just have to leave it. They can't sweep it because it would make it worse. So that one stays a little high. Pretty good. Julie's going to have to deal with stones in the rings, but easiest way to do that would be to raise her own blue, and a little less available right now with that guard in play. And Julie's going to have to, she has to keep in mind there are 2 yellows in the forefoot. And so at this point, she's got to do something to make those move right now. I wonder if she can hit enough the back forefoot
and to roll over and
chip
bump.
over the yellow.
It's a little
pretty
higher.
tight to the blue. It's a little higher,
But
but
it
you
is
hit
close.
it
They're
thick
close
and go into
together.
the side. You just need forefoot.
I think you can. They look pretty close. It looks better from the overhead camera.
I know.
that
I was just
shot.
looking.
Yeah.
And if you over curl, maybe you chip the other yellow and you make it real thin. Get the 3.
That could present Teresa Breen with a tough last shot if she makes that.
They're playing the tap on the blue, which, so Teresa's guard, the reason we were talking about the curl, Teresa's guard did over curl at the end.
Yeah.
Leaves this blue open. Julie's going to chip it on the side into the side forefoot yellow.
Okay.
She's just going to, I think, have to hope for a shot on her last, though, with this.
I was thinking she might try to chip it on the one near the button and then play the last one.
Yeah, she'd have to get to nose. I just
Yeah.
don't know if she can get
If
to
she
nose.
can get there, yeah. It's a long guard. It's a tough shot either
Let
way.
her prove one way or the other what the shot is.
Sweepers are waiting for this to curl.
It's on the outside yellow right now. Carly sweeping it to curl. They can ricochet off. Looks like it has enough weight to do both. Look at that. Chips it into the button. Not shot,
Not
but
shot. But
there's another blue in play, and there is a raise now.
you could hit that blue and probably get both yellows.
It's partly buried. It's the
Yeah.
only issue.
Is it buried behind that long guard?
Yeah, I think about
it is.
half a
Yeah,
rock.
I think you're right. Even more, actually. Take a look there at the line.
But right now, I think that would be Julie's best shot. So Teresa's going to guard it.
Yeah. And then what does that really leave? Play the
Well,
same
the
shot
sh-
again that she just played,
Yeah,
right?
the
That
same
would be
shot, I suppose. It's just I don't know how you move.
I don't know either.
Well, you don't need to move both yellows. You just have to tap that blue up on the nose, but I don't know if you can get under.
But that shot stone is just kissing, it looks like.
There would be an off the side yellow.
Yep.
Don't know if your thrown rock would stick around. It might spin up too far. Might be able to make contact to the second yellow. Might be for as many as 3 if Julie can get the rocks moving fast enough. Saw her make a great off the other day against Arsenal to only give up. That was we thought 1, but then there was a measure. It was for 2. Is in that same position as well. So guard here for Teresa Breen. Protecting her shot stone. Back button. Sweeper's calling out a 3. It's really starting to curl now, though. Weight's coming right off.
Yeah, it looked like it was full to start with, and then it really ground down. Maybe starting to see some of that ice chair talking about slowing down a little.
Chipped her first guard, though, so really took away, I think, that side of the sheet. They haven't looked at that in-off. I do think it's there, though. Timeout being called
On ours or sheet B?
on our sheet.
Okay.
And sheet B, probably.
Yeah, I heard sheet B.
Yeah, Julie did the timeout. So
Okay.
they're looking at it. I think that's the best shot.
I mean, this is a critical point for the
Must score.
for both teams. Yes, and McEvoy has a must-score situation. If you give up a couple of points here, it would be tough go for the last couple of ends.
Is it Don?
Yep, there's a coach out there.
I think that's Don McIntosh.
So looking at the in-off there.
I just want to review what shots they have in total.
Is that not their only shot?
I don't think there's anything else.
I don't think.
You have to hit it fairly thick with a ton of weight, and you might be able to chip both those out. It could be for as many as 3.
Yeah. The only other thing you could do is play around on one of those long yellow guards, but that's so long. A little nick either way.
No, thank you.
Exactly.
This is a way better chance.
Too many ways for it to go wrong, I'm afraid.
Well, at this point, they really they need to score. I think
Yeah.
giving goal is just, you'd be down 5 points, and it's so hard. You get 3 and you steal 2. The likelihood of that is so low.
Yeah. So they have the choice of turns here. They're going with the action turn to get a good spring to bump this out.
She'll have to hit this fairly thick, but she's trying to get action on.
And it could be for 3.
The stone totally is for 3.
Yeah.
So last shot, 8 then. Down 4, Julie McEvoy. We think she can get 3 out of this. Big weight in off.
I want to see some good rotation on that rock to get some spin happening.
This one's really curling, though. And that'll get onto the nose. She had the weight, but you don't see that turn, and just over curl, hit the nose. So it is a steal of 1. 7-2 is the score.
After 8 ends, 2.
And they are going to handshake.
I think so.
8 ends of play. The final score will be 7-2. Breen will take that. McEvoy will drop to 6. Breen.
And despite a
2
big
and 4.
disparity in the score, it was a fairly close game shot-wise.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So for these teams, one draw to come tonight at 7 o'clock. We'll remind you to tune in again for the Deloitte Tankard at 2 p.m. Live streams on sheet C and D, and you can find the link on nscurl. Thank you for joining us, Pam Sullivan. It's always a pleasure.
It's been a lot of fun.
So for the Scotties Tournament of Hearts here at Dartmouth Curling Club, we'll catch you next time.